Thanks for joining us, Deba.
Thank you very much.
Now, Deba, 17 African countries declined to vote against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. How do you view this development?
Well, it's very obvious what is going on. The issue that is in play is issues of superpowers, an issue of modern day ideology. So the African countries, it's now on them to decide, okay, what side do I take? What side should I belong to? And so at this time, all they have to do is to look at it and also vote wisely. And so for the position most of them have taken, they've taken it, for the interest of the people of their countries of Africa, So that is the situation, because at this time you really cannot, stick your, neck out to say, I have to do this, the way, it is being handled by the Western nations and the United States of America. So they have to just vote wisely as far as it's in their national interest.
Now, Deba, when it comes to diplomacy and international and geopolitics, voting, abstaining from votes and being neutral might be seen, especially in a scenario like this, as tactic approval or not outrightly condemning a view. And a lot of these nations that voted, the 17 African countries, highly dependent on donors from Western countries. Do you think they might want to take some vendetta against them in future, or it doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things?
Yeah, for me, I believe it doesn't really matter, because even the resolution is regarded as non-binding. However, it carries weight, because if you don't have support for it, then things won't be it won't be regarded as important. But if you have support for it, it shows that it's important. So the way it is, I do not think there will be vendetta. However, it will be on record.
Okay, Deba, Eritrea, which is referred to as the North Korea of Africa, is the only African country that voted against the United Nations resolution to condemn Russia. Why do you think they adopted that position?
For me, I'm even surprised, because Eritrea is in conflict with Ethiopia.
Yes. And
we know that, most of the support, Eritrea has gotten so far has been from the Western nations. So for me, it's a surprise that they could vote this way. I don't know why. Probably proud to their conflict, present conflict with Ethiopia. Probably they'll be getting support, from Russia. So it's something that for me is a surprise. However, now that they've done it, I know every eyes will be on them. The Western world, we want to know where they stand, now, especially that there is peace, between them and Ethiopia. They want to know where to go from there, from today, based on their votes yesterday.
Now, Deba, yesterday, the United States President Joe Biden, in his address to the world, did mention these votes at the United Nations General Assembly to buttress his point of saying, the whole world is against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, let's look at the import of such resolutions by the United Nations. I know you mentioned earlier that it's non-binding, but there must be some significance. And what is it?
Yeah, like I said, even though it is not binding, with the kind of support 141 countries, it shows the weight behind the resolution. It's not binding because, you know, it's the way it is, you know, the superpowers, they have the way they play their politics. It would have been binding if it were, for example, Nigeria that invaded Benin Republic, you know, for example. If you say the Yoruba nations, you know, extended to that part, it would have been binding. But the way it is, these are superpowers. They know how to play their politics. At the end of the day, they will still come together and, you know, be friends and do things together. But the fact that, you know, you could have that number of countries, you know, it's worthy, and so it matters the way it is. And so Russia, we appreciate that or acknowledge it, that this is the situation. Why the Western nations, we appreciate the support, the massive support, you know, that they got in that resolution.
Okay, Deba, thanks. The United Nations was formed from the League of Nations in 1945 to prevent conflict and stop the world from going into a war like we've seen in the Great War of 1914 and the Second World War in the early 1940s. Nigerian Afrobeat legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti, in a song Beast of No Nation, once said that what is united in the United Nations, and we've seen what is going on now. We have 5 permanent members of the Security Council that can veto. Is it time for the United Nations to reform? Because it seems they failed in the activities of preventing peace. We've seen the Rwandan genocide in the last 50 years. We've seen bombing of Yugoslavia. We've seen the Iraq War, Afghanistan, Libya. So what do you make of the calls to reform the United Nations Security Council, or the United Nations in general, to be more effective and responsive?
Well, there've always been calls for reforms. There've always been calls for reorganization. But the truth about it is that those that, you know, initiated the formation, those that sponsored, you know, the formation of the United Nations, will continue to hold on. You know, having 5 countries, just 5 countries that can veto, they will not want to lose power. Power is, you know, somehow, when it's absolute, you know, how it can go. And so no matter how people will call for, or nations will call for information, when it gets to, you know, that kind of power, they will not want to relinquish it, because they know it matters. They know, because they really don't trust, you know, themselves, and so they have to put it there. You know, no matter what other nations do, that the weaker nations, no matter what they do, I don't think they will want to give up that power that they have, you know, to veto or not to veto. However, they will continue to do what they are doing. They will continue to carry out, you know, things they need to carry out in terms of, you know, taking over other countries, you know, as long as they have an excuse to do it. But it is what it is, you know. They are powerful, no doubt. It's always been there right from the beginning, you know, of creation. Countries or empires that are more powerful tend to want to dominate those that are weak.
Thank you very much, Deba Uwadiae. Thanks for your insights and your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.